The easiest homemade latkes you will ever make are so crispy, golden, and delicious. You are going to love these. Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make the easiest homemade latkes. Yes, they could not be more simple. Now, of course, there are many variations on how to make a delicious latke, but this one is going to be so quick and easy, you're not going to believe it. And the result is fantastic. It's crispy, it's golden, and it's perfect. And it comes together just as quickly as it would if you were using a mix. But you're making these yourself with fresh potatoes, and they're divine. Of course, you can also make your latkes with grated potatoes, but in this recipe, I'm going to teach you how to make your latkes in a blender. You're going to put everything in, and it's going to come out as a delicious batter. We're going to fry them up, and they're going to be crispy and golden. They come together in a flash, and they are delicious. So I'm super excited to teach you how to make them. So let's not wait another second, and let's get started. For today's recipe, you will need 3 russet potatoes, 1 yellow onion, 1 large egg, 6 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt plus some more for sprinkling, a half a teaspoon of onion powder, fresh ground black pepper to taste, 18 ounces of canola oil, and applesauce and or sour cream for serving. Of course, this is optional. You will also need some measuring spoons, a cutting board and a knife, a potato peeler, a bowl and a small ladle, a blender, a plate lined with paper towel, and I like to use a serving fork and serving spoon to help me flip my latkes, but you could also use a spider. And then, of course, for serving your latkes, you'd want some sour cream or applesauce or whatever your favorite latke topping is. I know that nowadays people go nuts topping their latkes. I've seen all kinds of savory toppings, sweet toppings, so do whatever your heart desires. I like to go classic, so I'm going to be serving them with sour cream and with applesauce. And finally, you will need a large skillet for frying your latkes. The measurement of oil I include is for a large skillet. So you will see when I pour my oil in, you may need more or less, of course, depending on the size of your skillet. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is wash and peel your potatoes, and then of course peel your onion. And then what you want to do is you want to cut your potatoes into chunks, and you want to do the same with your onion. Just kind of quarter the onion and then cut the potatoes into manageable sized pieces. Now once I've done that, I like to fill my skillet with my oil. And as I said before, what you want to do is shallow fry. You're not going to have a tremendous amount of oil. So I'm using this much in a large skillet, but of course you'd need less if it's a smaller skillet. And then I like to put my heat between low and medium, and then I start heating up that oil. Why am I doing that first? Because these come together super quick and I want my oil hot and ready. So I'm putting my potatoes straight into my blender, and then right on top of the potatoes, I'm going to add that onion that I cut also into fairly large chunks, and I'm going to add that right into the blender. And then once I have the potatoes and onions in, I'm going to cover the blender, and I'm just going to start pulsing, because what I'm doing is I'm just breaking down those potatoes and those onions, and this could not be any easier. I just pulse a few times, stir with a spoon if you need to move things around, and then you've broken up those potatoes and onions. Then right on top of that, I'm going to add some salt, kosher salt, and then I'm also going to add my onion powder, which I find really elevates the flavor of my latkes. Then I'm going to add some flour because russet potatoes have a lot of starch. So you don't need a lot of flour, but I do like a little bit of flour to help bind. And then I just, right on top of my blender, I just grate some black pepper right on top. This you're going to do to your personal taste. And then once that's in, then you're just going to crack an egg. And then we're going to be adding that egg also right into the blender with the rest of the ingredients. I told you this could not be any simpler. I'm literally just adding them right inside the blender. And then of course, once everything is in, I'm gonna put my lid right back on. And all I'm gonna do is once again, blend. I'm just gonna pulse a few times. I wanna make sure that that flour and those seasonings and that egg becomes well incorporated into my mixture. And before I know it, in a matter of moments, my latke mixture is ready to go. So you want it to look something like this. And then what I like to do is I transfer it into a bowl because I just find it easier to work out of the bowl. But you could technically spoon it right out of the blender if you wanted to. And then of course I prepare a plate with some paper towel because I do want those latkes to have a place to let go of that excess oil. And then I test my oil to make sure that it is sizzling just with a little drop. And once I've tested my oil, then I'm ready to grab my small ladle and I'm going to add my mixture in by the ladleful. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just creating these latkes with my small ladle right into the oil. And of course you can make these larger or smaller. I just kind of like an average sized latke. So I'm going to be putting in about 6 or so into my large skillet because I don't want to overcrowd my pan because I do want my latkes crispy. I don't want that oil getting too cold as my latkes fry up. And then I'm actually just adding that little bit right on top of one of my latkes because we don't want to waste a single drop. And then I'm going to just fry these up until they become golden and delicious. So you're just going to let them sit on one side for a little bit and then just kind of help them along if you have to. And what you're looking for is for them to start floating. When you notice that they can move freely, they're not sticking to the bottom, then that's when you can comfortably flip them over without having them break apart. So of course, whenever you are frying anything, you just want to make sure your oil doesn't get too hot. So if your oil seems too aggressive, or of course, if your oil is not bubbling enough, then of course you're going to adjust the heat because every stove works differently. So once you've given them some color on one side, then all I did was flip them over and I'm going to allow them to get color on the opposite side. And I actually like to flip mine a couple of times in the process. I just give them a minute or two on one side, then on the other side, then I flip them again, and these are now looking ready to go. So once they develop that color that you're satisfied with, that they look beautifully golden on both sides, then I just gently remove them from the oil, and then I'm placing them on a plate with paper towel because I really want that paper towel to help absorb all that excess oil. So be sure to do that. You definitely want to lay them out on some paper towel and then just give them a moment so that all of that excess oil can be absorbed. So look at how beautifully golden these guys look, and you saw how quickly they came together. It was really just a matter of moments, and now I have these beautiful homemade latkes. But it's very important that as soon as you fry a batch, you're going to grab a little bit of that kosher salt, and then you're going to give them a little bit of a sprinkling right on top, because you definitely, whenever you fry something, when it's still nice and warm, that's when you're going to want to salt them. They're going to get a delicious flavor. So what I do is I put another layer of paper towel on top, and then I'm ready to fry my next batch. So I'm just going to repeat the same process. I tested the oil first just to make sure it wasn't too hot or too cold with just a drop of the filling. And then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to use my mini ladle to drop in about 6 or so latkes. And then I'm just going to fry for a couple minutes on one side. And then I'm going to flip them over and fry for a couple minutes on the other side. And then just flip them again as necessary until they're nice and golden. So with this recipe and with this amount of batter that I have created, I am able to get about 19 to 20 latkes. I actually got 19 and then I got one mini latke, which worked out nicely because my son was able to sample it while I was still filming because I don't let them eat until I'm done with my recording. So just every time you fry up a batch, don't forget to salt them just a bit with that kosher salt. Put another layer of paper towel on top and then go on to your next batch. So since I got 19, I did 6 and 6, and then for my third and final batch, then I am just gonna go ahead and do 7 because I know I can squeeze just one more in, and that way I thought I wasn't gonna have to fry, of course, another batch, but then I did have one tiny bit left where I did fry that mini one up once I was done for my eldest son, just as a little sample. So now just remember, test the oil before you put your latkes in to make sure the oil is nice and bubbly. Give it a few minutes on the first side to make sure that they're floating and you're able to flip them over. Then fry them for a few minutes on the second side and then just flip them as needed to make sure that both sides of your beautiful latkes get nice and golden. And then don't forget that little sprinkling of kosher salt once you've taken them out of the hot oil and place them onto your paper towel so that they drain off any excess oil and they will be perfect. So once you are done, just remember to turn off your oil and you are good to go. Your latkes are ready to be plated. And as I said, I like to go classic, so I'm going to be serving mine with both applesauce and sour cream because I love them equally. And look at how gorgeous those latkes look. And look at how easy they were. No grating by hand, not even a food processor, a simple blender. We threw everything in, seasonings and all, and we made this amazing batter in a matter of moments. And then we fried them up and they're perfect. You do not have to use a mix to get easy latkes. These are easy and homemade, and believe me, they are crispy and delicious. I know you can see how golden they are, but they are crispy. The edges are amazing and the center is so delicious. I just can't wait to try them. So I'm going to serve myself a little bit of sour cream, and I'm also going to serve myself some applesauce because I love them both equally, and I actually like to have them sometimes with both sour cream and applesauce at the same time. I know I'm such a rebel, but they are divine however you serve them. So here I go. They are super crispy. I absolutely love how golden they get, and the edges get perfectly crunchy while the center is still somewhat soft. It's just perfect. For this first bite, I'm going to go with a little bit of the applesauce and give it a little sweetness, okay? If I can manage to get it in my mouth. It's delicious. I can't wait. Perfect. It's got the best texture, just perfectly crispy and golden. It's really tasty, and with that touch of onion powder and that sprinkle of salt, it's just perfect. Now I'm gonna go for one with sour cream, which I also can't seem to manage to get in my mouth. Let's see. Amazing. I love the richness of the sour cream on that crispy fried potato latke. So good. And now, of course, I'm going to go all out and do a little bit of each for this bite. Delicious. So good. No matter how you top them, they're perfect. Look at how beautifully golden and crispy they get. They're just super yummy, and you saw how easy they are. Just as easy as using a mix, but so much better. They're perfect. Crispy
and golden. Delicious.
So how crazy good do these guys look? I can't begin to explain it. They are perfect. They're crispy and the texture inside is just divine. And you saw how quickly we put these together. We literally just throw everything in there, make this amazing batter and fry them up. And they turn out super good. There's no grating. It's just so easy. And the result is delicious. It's not like you're sacrificing anything because these latkes are really, really tasty. And the best part is you can make a big batch and get them on the table real quick and everyone is going to love them. Trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're gonna have to try to make this recipe yourself. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to like, comment, and share. I love when you share my videos with your friends, so thank you so much for doing that. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and to touch that little notification bell so that you get notified when I put up a new and delicious recipe. And don't forget to travel over to my video tab because underneath that tab, I already have a ton of recipes there for you to explore, and I know you're going to love them. And if you're not already following me on social media, don't forget to follow Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest, and on Twitter, Snapchat, and on TikTok, you can find me as Sally That Girl FL. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.